Is the Earth actually a flat disk and we've all been deceived?
Or is the Earth actually a sphere and the flat earthers have been lied to? Either way, someone out there is deceiving the public.
On this episode, we're going to find out once and for all if we're all living on a giant sphere or on top of a flat disk. Welcome to The Edge of Wonder. I'm your host, Ben.
And I'm Rob. First of all, I'd like to say Ben and I are really not interested in making fun of anyone about this. As we were looking into this, we noticed that most of the debunking videos out there are all videos of people just making fun of other people for believing this. Like, you guys are so outside of brainwashing yourself while watching mainstream news every day and throwing your opinions around. Give us a break.
Right, and there's a lot of theories out there that people believe in, and I know some people might think we're crazy for some of the stuff that we believe in. I mean, we're talking about all kinds of things on the show, but really, there's a lot of disinformation out there.
So let's go ahead and be positive about this and try to tackle this from a rational perspective. First section then, a conspiracy of misinformation.
So out in the world, there is a big difference between misinformation and disinformation, and we're going to explain what each of these mean.
So misinformation is where someone gets the facts wrong, but still spreads this information believing they are correct. Disinformation is something far more devious.
Right, and the goal of disinformation is to manufacture false perceptions, often created staged incidents, and then using these as a foundation for what appears to be a valid argument.
So what are we getting at here? Well, it appears that both of these are being used in the Flat Earth Society. Why? Money, power, fame, all of the above?
The founder of the Flat Earth ideology is Samuel Roe Baughman, aka Parallax, who started the Universal Zetic Society, who died in 1884. In 1956, Samuel Shenton, a reported Freemason, resurrected this idea and started the International Flat Earth Research Society. Before his death in 1971, he then passed it to Charles K. Johnson, who was the president until his death in 2001. In 1972, Charles K. Johnson resurrected this idea and started the International Flat Earth Research Society.
In 2004, the mysterious, and I do mean mysterious, Daniel Shenton gave new life in the flat earth concept and started the flatearthsociety.org website. However, and it's a big however, Shenton has no images, no bio, and his outdated Twitter and Facebook pages don't really show much aside from faceless photos cut off, and him wearing a t-shirt of flat earth and appearing around the world.
Right, exactly. So I tried to contact them for a Skype interview, but so far, as you can see, no response. Because I noticed that there is not one single video interview with any of them. Only radio interview with John Davis, who, by the way, is the only one out of all of them that actually have a legitimate Facebook page.
And they do have a P.O. box that's registered in London, but on the site, like when we looked there, it showed this, like where their office was this random like factory place in like Portland, Oregon. Right. It was really mysterious, so we didn't quite understand that.
Right.
Okay, so why are we bringing all of this up? Because they're kind of good at hiding themselves, and the real question is why? Like, what are you hiding? If you really believe something, I mean, let's just be open about it, right? Like, I mean, we are.
So the other thing that is going around is a so-called NASA contractor by the name of Matthew Boylan, who actually goes by Math Powerland. We haven't found any evidence claiming that he is from NASA, and on his Facebook page, he promotes his art and movies that he is making.
Guys, he's an actor. We checked his IMDb page under the name of Math Powerland. 3 are related to Flat Earth, and 1 is for some Canadian show called The Badge. I didn't get to watch the film, but I'm sure it was good work. Also, he has a YouTube channel called the NASA channel, but it doesn't support any solid evidence. There are also videos of other people debunking him as well.
The best part is how he labels himself, so get ready for this. Are you ready?
I think so.
All right. Surface expert, photorealist, painter, composer, performer, chemist, herbalist, healing consultant, actor, engineer, architect, interior designer, carpenter, explorer, portrait artist, whatever the heck that is, scientist, political expert, and the best historian.
Doctor, scientist, political expert, and historian was already too much. Who accomplishes becoming all of those things in one lifetime? This is just, ridiculous.
Anyway.
All right, now look. We're really not trying to throw anyone under the bus here. We're just trying to rationally point these things out. If you look into these things rationally as we are, you will find the same thing.
Right. I just have this thing where I really like to help awaken people to the truth and stop others from using people for their personal agendas and to make money.
And speaking of money, rapper B.O.B. is trying to raise $1 million on GoFundMe for weather balloons to fly for so-called proof that the world is flat.
But do you really need $1 million for weather balloons? I mean, does anyone else think this is crazy? You could take care of this with a few trips up in a hot air balloon.
Okay, let's put all of this aside. On the religious aspect, some Christians claim they believe the world is flat because of the word firmament is in the Bible in Genesis, in which they take it as a literal translation. Now, the word in Hebrew is raikaya, which could also mean expanse. Buddhist and Taoist texts also talk about the great firmament, but the meaning behind this is like the entire colossal firmament, which was made by the Creator and not just only creating Earth.
Okay, so this is what happens when people really start taking things very literally. But who are we to really translate these texts and lay a definition on them? I mean, you can say you think you know what that means, like what you understand that means, but you can't really lay a definition down. All of this could be a ruse to get people distracted from things that people in power don't want you to know.
Right. This also discredits real conspiracies that are happening and things that we've even talked about, such as CERN. So even the secret space program whistleblower Corey Goode said to host George Noory that he had intel that the flat Earth idea was actually created by a select group of people at NASA to spread disinformation on purpose to make it harder for people to decipher what is real and what is false.
Right, so like, you believe in this or that, you must be one of those flat earthers too, right? Plus it puts more emphasis on the tangible science and less on the metaphysical part of science.
Right. So it leads people to believe that everything is just a conspiracy and this is really hurting our society. Also, this even puts the flat earth believers into a box, which is then labeled as insanity. I personally know a few of them, so look guys, we're really not trying to make fun of you and call you guys out. We're just trying to separate fact from fiction here.
Okay, so let's actually blow the top off of this and talk about some simple physics here that proves that the Earth is actually round.
So the eclipse is one of those smoking gun arguments that shouldn't be denied. When flat earther Charles Johnson was asked by the New York Times about how the eclipse works, he said, "We really don't have to go into all that. The Bible tells us that the heavens are a mystery."
Okay, let's make this quick. If you really study the moon, the only mathematical answer to its movements in the sky are that the Earth is round. Furthermore, if the Earth isn't round, why hasn't anyone ever seen any variation of this during the eclipse? Here are flat Earth shadows on the moon as compared to real ones that show the ellipse.
So let's just break this down. The solar eclipse is when the moon is between Earth and the sun, which the moon blocks the sun. A lunar eclipse is where the Earth is between the sun and the moon, which casts a shadow on the moon. Otherwise, if the world was flat, we would only see a small flat shadow.
All right, let's talk about the case of Eratosthenes. He's from 205 BC, people. There's no way he could be a part of any modern conspiracy, right? Okay. Eratosthenes heard of a place in Egypt called Syene, where at noon on the summer solstice, the sun cast no shadows. At the same time, the buildings in Alexandria were casting shadows at an angle. On the solstice, Eratosthenes stuck a stick in the ground and measured its angle. He used the distance between the two cities to calculate the curvature of the Earth, which he did fairly accurately, and it's round.
The 90-degree 10,000K hike test. You won't be able to say by trying this that the Earth is flat or domed.
If you want proof, walk 10,000 kilometers, turn 90 degrees, walk another 10,000 kilometers, turn another 90 degrees, and walk another 10,000 kilometers. You will end up nearly in the exact same spot that you started. But that's a triangle, right?
So if the Earth was flat, you would have made up 3 parts of a perfect square.
And if it was domed, the exact proportion of that dome would be, wait for it, proof that it's a perfect sphere, because there's no way a dome would be able to amount to that exact proportion without restructuring the entire Earth's measurements.
Finally, the sun sets if the Earth was slightly domed or flat, the sun would not set. Some flat earthers claim the sun just gets smaller, or that because it's domed, the sun sets. But the sun being that high on a flat earth would definitely result in the sun never setting anywhere. We would see both the sun and the moon.
On April 12, 1633, Galileo was ordered to turn himself into the church for spreading and holding the belief that the earth was round. He was condemned to prison until he agreed to never spread that the earth was round again. Then, after being forced to agree to that, he was forced to spend the rest of his life under house arrest. Sounds fun.
Let's ask an important question. Why would Galileo, a genius astronomer and mathematician, even mention the earth was round unless he had some evidence to support this theory? Especially since he knew how the church would react. Okay, so one of the biggest arguments I'm seeing is that if the world was round, wouldn't a plane constantly have to readjust its nose so it doesn't fly into space? And if the world was round, why isn't it upside down when it's near the bottom of the world?
Okay, so gravity is a funny thing. I mean, there are monks in history who could levitate. Check out our video on people with supernormal abilities to hear more about that. But for everyday people, gravity is real. So why doesn't a plane need to readjust its nose, or isn't upside down?
It's the constant pull of this gravitational force. Otherwise, if a pilot lets go of his controls, the plane would just crash right into the ground. That's why if an object wants to go into space, it needs to break through the atmosphere and the gravitational force of the Earth, which is called escape velocity.
This is why rockets have to use so much fuel to do it. Otherwise, it would burn up in the atmosphere or fall back down to the Earth, which is what has happened in the past. So this is all very elementary physics. Otherwise, if you throw a ball into the air, it would go straight into space.
So the goal of all this was to help people break free of the mis- and disinformation that is out there. The thing that bothers both of us more than anything is when innocent people are being taken advantage of. And when they are, we both feel we need to stand up to it.
I mean, and like, look at Mad Mike Hughes, the 61-year-old amateur rocket scientist who blasted himself off in a rocket to prove that the Earth was flat, and he ended up in the hospital. I mean, I feel bad for the guy because he's being deceived and could have killed himself, but at the same time, couldn't y'all have just gone up in a hot air balloon?
Well, no way, because it's so much cooler to
Well,
say.
no, dude.
I went up in a rocket, man.
Okay, I'm not gonna argue you there. He's got some points for that, but ended up in the hospital is not fun. Okay, so to conclude, we think this whole flat Earth idea is one out of three possibilities. The first being a few guys started this as a joke, the trolls of the trolls, and it snowballed out of control into what it is today.
Right. And the second one being an elaborate scheme by NASA to throw more disinformation out there to confuse and get people to laugh at all the conspiracies and unexplained phenomena that science just can't explain.
Okay, and the third being a scheme from a few people who are trying to profit and become famous for this idea.
Right, so dare I ask, what do you guys think of all of this?
Yeah, don't agree with us? Well, comment below and we will read all of them.
Yeah, every last hateful comment.
Every one of them.
Yeah, we'll get them all.
And if you guys think the world is round, definitely comment below. We want to hear from all of y'alls.
Yep, very true.
Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and be sure to check out this video on the moon. Finally, if you flat earthers really want to know why you can't go to Antarctica, it's not because there's an ice wall there. Watch our video on Antarctica and get a taste of what's really going on there.
Until then, we'll see you guys out on the edge of the Earth.
Ben, that doesn't make any sense. The Earth is round. There is no edge.
Well, it would if the world was flat. Then you could be on the edge, you know? Right, and the founder of the flat... Okay, sorry. He said, we really don't have to go into all that.
Oh
wow!
Yeah. I really tried to hold that one back.
He was a librarian... I was going to say libertarian. Eratosthenes, or Aristosthenes? No, Tasthenes.
Aristophanes.